Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer. He's on the East Coast. And we roll along here in the NBA playoffs with play-up props for Wednesday's two-game slate here. Got the Mavs and the Thunder back in OKC. Got the Celtics looking to close out the Cavs in Boston, back in Boston here. Got to see if Donnie Mitchell's playing. He looks doubtful. He's iffy. He's labeled iffy on most of these reports. And then you've got Jared Allen, who I don't think anybody expects to play. And if he could, ribs are a very important part of your body. So we'll be looking at play-up props in this one, though. Also got best bets up in a separate episode. And we're bringing you both of those each and every day now throughout the playoffs. So continue to follow along and subscribe to that page. Also head to thelines.com. Use that prop finder tool if you do want to take a look at all of these bets available to you with the different lines and odds that are coming your way from these books this postseason. Nate, let's go ahead and get right into your first pick. We are simpatico here in fading the ageless, but maybe now starting to age Papa Al Horford.
Yeah. I mean, he's old at this point. Under 18.5 PRA was the look as of yesterday, and we both liked it. Everybody liked it. Now it's only really available at 17.5 unless you play the juice. So I'm going to be bullish enough to just say, let's take out the assists and go under 15.5 points and rebounds, which is still available at a reasonable price. Look, Joe Mazzulla played him 39 minutes in game 3, and he realized that was a mistake for the long term. I don't know what their knowledge is of Porzingis' health, but they're going to need Horford in this next series either way, and he's not really going to hold up. So the next game, he only played 28 minutes. Luke Cornett, handled the other 20, and Horford goes for 6-6-0. He's now 0 for 2 from 3 in his last two games, which I think is the indication too from Maz. He needs to play fewer minutes because he can't even get his legs together to shoot. He's 18% on catch and shoot threes in the series. And it's just where else are the points going to come from a guy who can't get off the ground anymore, can't bully people, nearly 38 years old. As I said, he's clearly has a dip in scoring on normal rest this season. Basically didn't play on back-to-backs, but one-day rest, 7.8 points, 6.4 rebounds versus 10.7 points when he got 2 days off. And, I talk about the Jays controlling the offense constantly. He's had such few opportunities to make passes. 1 assist per game on 3.3 potentials in his last 3. So that's where the assists come in there. But even just the points, rebounds, he's gone under this in all 8 playoff, or in his last 8 playoff games this year. He did get over in the first game on extended rest, right? And the rebound chances, his job is to box out and then kind of defer, right? Especially if he's on Mobley. It's keep this dude out of here. And then they want Tatum, Holiday, JB to swoop in. All 3 of those guys have a 60+% rebound success rate, and Horford is at 43%. He's only getting 20% contested rebounds. He's just not going up for these because he doesn't really jump anymore. Let's be real. His game is on the ground, and that's why I don't really trust him to get a bunch of boards here.
I would argue he never really jumped very much, but always had some tricks in his bag. Now I think another big part of this is Luke Cornett actually got good minutes in this last game, looked really good, was actually getting those lobs at the rim. I think that was something that they've been missing as well, was man, we can't just throw it up anymore. Kristaps isn't in there to be 7'4" and be up higher than everybody already. But Luke Cornett, like I said, comes onto the floor with his hands up. That man always has his hands in the air, ready to make a tip in or catch that lob. And I think his really solid play in the last game was something that allowed Mazzulla to keep Papa Al on the bench for a little bit longer. And yeah, this is a long playoffs, and you don't know when you're getting Kristaps back if you are, right? So this is not someone that you want to use all the reserves in his tank for. You need to keep Papa Al for those playoff moments in these next couple rounds. We're assuming where they're really just okay, well, we can't have Luke Cornett on the floor right now, and Al's too tired. They can't face that situation. They're just screwed at that point, right? Now you're turning to Xavier Tillman minutes, and I don't think anybody wants that against teams like the Nuggets or the Timberwolves or whomever they might face in the finals. Against the Knicks, I'm a little bit less worried if they don't have OG, but we'll move past that. Let me keep in this game for a minute though, and just say there's 2 bets that are still out there. We both lost. We got the value on Al Horford. I hit that last night. It was 18.5. And yeah, like you said, now it's 17.5 for the PRA, but similar concept here. I'm taking Strus I hit him for a half a unit, and this is how I'm playing it because I need to know if Donnie Mitchell's in. Now, I don't think it's a bad bet to put a half a unit on Max Strus to hit over 2.5 threes plus 122 on FanDuel. And then you can just eat, because one, I don't want to miss that. Like, he could hit that if Donnie plays. He's still going to take 5 to 6 threes. I don't want to have to bank on Max Strus hitting 60% of his threes, obviously, but it's still plausible. And maybe the light switch turned on a little bit by having those open shots last game that he wasn't getting. And he had the availability to shoot open shots in previous games, but Donnie Mitchell's busy shooting 12 threes. So there's not a lot left to go around for the Max Struses of this squad. And that includes Darius Garland, who's at 19.5. And I still think that's a soft line if Donnie Mitchell doesn't play. He just took 27 shots. So both of these guys, I've got half a unit on to get these props. He was even money at 19.5 for Darius Garland. For Strus to get the 2.5 threes over that is plus 122 on FanDuel. So I had to hit that stuff. For Strus, he just took 9 of them without Donnie Mitchell, and we're still getting plus money. So like I said, I'm not missing out on that. Even if Donnie plays, I can still hit this. If he doesn't play, I can just put another half unit on whatever this goes up to, as long as it stays at 2.5 threes that he needs to go over. He's gone over this number in 5 straight without Don Don. That goes back to the regular season. So last 4 of the regular season without him, plus this one game that he's missed in the playoffs. And 3 of those I will give you were against Charlotte and Utah, and those are very bad 3-point defenses. But then 2 of them, one was this Boston game, and the other one was the Clippers, 2 top 15 defenses. So I'm not going to just poo-poo those stats right there, especially because without Donnie this year, 18 games that he's played without him, he's gone over 2.5, 10 of those times. So we're still at a nice, basically 60% hit rate there. And he's got 2+ in 17 of those 18. So 2+ is damn near a lock for Strus. If you wanted to use that for like parlay stuff, with this plus money still, 2+ is also very plausible with Donnie. So if Donnie plays, so it's still a good bet to take the 2+, add it to some parlays, even just freaking eat the juice. It's like minus 220 for him to hit 2 threes. Might not be quite worth it without adding it to one more thing, but there's plenty of other pieces out there that you can use that would help you out. And then if you look at the minutes too, right? The attempts and the volume and the minutes, those will be there for Strus. One, they don't have a choice. Like, he has to shoot it. He came out aggressive right away in that first quarter last game. In fact, I don't think he hit a 3 in the second half. He hit all 5 of his threes. I'm pretty sure in the first, there was like 4 in the first and 1 in the third. But he was pretty cold after that. I still think he's going to go on these streaks during this game without Donnie because he has no choice. He played 42 minutes in game 4. He's averaging 35 on the season when Donnie hasn't been in. So I think it's all hands on deck. There is no tomorrow now. So if you look at the points versus the threes, it doesn't seem worth it to me because you get the plus money for the over 2.5. He took 9 threes on 12 total shots last game. Not doing much driving because they don't have the 3 look. If Karis LeVert is out, this thing's a wrap. He actually started last game. Like, LeVert didn't even come off the bench. He had to start, and that's what he'll continue to do. But I would continue to hit him. Darius at the over 19.5. Wonderful. Just took 27 shots, took 13 threes. He'll keep shooting. He doesn't have to get much more efficient. He hasn't been efficient, but if the volume's there, then 20s should be good. He averaged 21 on the season when Donnie Mitchell wasn't in there. And I would also hit Karis LeVert if he's in there. I would probably also hit Sam Merrill if he's in there. If you get a good look at Sam Merrill stuff, he had to come out as well and play in this last game for the first time in legitimate minutes in this last game because of the lack of offense that you get without, like, there's 25 shots to go around without Donovan Mitchell. So there's plenty of guys that if they don't get bumped up enough with their props here, you can take the overs on these others for the Cavs.
Yeah, the Cavs strategy was clear without Donnie in that last game, which was just like get up as many threes as possible and hope for a variance game. Yep. And that's how we can beat these Celtics. And it almost worked with Strus setting the tone early. I mean, I definitely would want to make sure Mitchell's out to take a Garland over. I think I'm still fine with the Strus over in this spot, even though I did look at, his splits without Donnie are quite notable, like 5 more points per game, 4% higher usage, better 3-point percentage for some reason. Because the Cavs just play maybe a better sprawl ball style, and they've been able to do that with Mobley at the 5 and no Donnie. I mean, the ball's going to have a little bit more life here. And just Strus is a guy who I talk about like a trust at the end of a series if he can stay out of foul trouble. He's done a pretty good job defending Tatum at times, comfortable at the Boston Garden. He's played so many playoff games there last year. So, I think, Strus is where I would lean until we know about Donnie.
Yep.
So with Luka here, I still would fade his points for sure, but I think he bounces back here, and I think he's good for 18.5 rebounds and assists. Mostly just the odds that he can be a rebound monster here in a series where nobody's scoring. Like, the under is definitely the look here if you're looking at the total. both teams are shooting like 40% at the rim or worse. Like it's unbelievable rim protection on both sides. So just getting all these rebound chances, and Luka's been gifted them. Like we talked about this, where he's either coming off the weak side with nobody crashing behind him, and the bigs are like clearing a space for him to just get the ball and facilitate. So he on his 18 and a half rebound chances, he has 13 and a half of those, which is an incredible rebound chance rate, 85% adjusted rebound success rate versus Lively's at 42%, Gafford's at 50%. So walking into rebounds, we saw him get 15 in game 3, right? I mean, 10 last time out. The assists maybe are where you have a little bit more pause, because like in these playoffs, he hasn't been getting that many. He's coming off a 7 turnover game where he just like stumbled and like threw the ball to nowhere a couple times, and it was like, man, is Luka just trash? Like what the hell's going on here? But every time he's looked like that in his playoff career, really, he just bounces back and comes out spry, comes out scoring early. And I mean, he's actually gone under the rebound assist though in 3 of these 4 following a loss. But I'm willing to buck that trend and say he's not going to dominate by scoring anymore, because that's just not the way OKC's defending him, right? They're like building a wall. Lou Dort's all up in his jersey. They're going to make him facilitate a little bit more. And so last game, he actually had 66 passes, which was a series high, 19 potential assists. They didn't all come home because Dallas struggled shooting a little bit, but I think Luka, he can impact this game without necessarily getting 30. And I don't think he'd get 30. The books are very slowly moving him down to 27 and a half, which I would still look at the under here. But I think if you're going to bet a points bet, it's like simple explanation is just keep betting PJ Washington, 15 and a half points. Like this is not a fluke when he gets 20 plus 3 games in a row. He's either knocking down corner threes, making plays off the dribble. Like PJ Washington is just fine as far as being a reliable scorer here. We don't know how aggressive Kyrie or Luka will be, or how healthy Luka will be, but we do know PJ Washington is going to get buckets.
Yeah. That is something you want to bank on at this point a little bit more. There's going to be a Kyrie game probably if they again. I don't know how to get into the mindset of Kyrie Irving, so I'm not going to touch that. But for Luka, I think this is a good look. The assists are the part that scare me a little bit more than the boards, and I believe they're both basically 9.5 as single bets there too.
Assists are only 8.5, and the boards are up to 10.5, which is
okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So yeah, putting them together does give you a little bit of like well, I don't know what you want. I don't want to call it an edge, but it gives you one less almost,
multiple
right?
outs, you could say. Yeah.
Multiple outs is a good way to look at it. Yeah. I mean, he doesn't have to hit both. Obviously, you get a little bit of a premium there in a good way. But yeah, I'm with betting on Luka in some way in this game. But yeah, the points are still scary to go with, because we're seeing that defense that the Nuggets pulled out on Ant, which is like, we've got one dude who's responsible for you, one dude who's standing in a free safety spot and is just going to immediately come to you. The minute that you get within 28 feet of the basket, you're going to have 2 guys on you, so go ahead and take that 32-foot 3 that you have not been hitting this entire playoffs if you want to, but they're daring him to. And I think Luka is a player that you bank on prioritizing winning rather than just getting his, right? And so he's going to make sure he gets involved in the action. But that doesn't mean that he has to score. So Josh Giddey, under 11.5 PRA. What does it come to? Sweet Joshua. 11.5 points, rebounds, and assists for Giddey. I don't know. Is Dagnall going to do the right thing, Dags? Do the right thing. Stop starting down 5.5 points every game like you have been by just playing Josh Giddey for 13 plus minutes and starting him. Like, this is a very stark difference between he and Aaron Wiggins. Let's just go through the last game real quick. 5 minutes in quarter 1 was a -8. Then in quarter 2, hooray, he was pretty good because he hit a 3. So he was +5 in his 3 minutes in the second quarter, right? And then in the third quarter, got 4 minutes, was even, didn't make a shot, didn't really do much anywhere, had a little bit of a Tony Snell line, except for he took 1 shot. And then in the fourth, he played 3 seconds. Hilariously, was a +4 in those 3 seconds because the Thunder got fouled twice and hit two layups for Dort and I believe SGA, or J-Dub and SGA, whoever it was in that quarter. It wasn't him. He just stood there on the line. But they brought him in because he's a better free throw shooter than a guy like Aaron Wiggins. But Aaron Wiggins is made for this series and has been very good when he's been on the floor, knocking down the corner 3 or driving to the lane and just not making mistakes and not being a liability, and not someone that this Mavs team can just leave open on purpose as its entire strategy, which has been the case for Giddey. And look, man, I don't, whatever you want to say about it. Like if you leave Giddey open, it's a mental thing at that point. I know he's an NBA player who's wide open, but it is a mental thing. And it's not just for Giddey, but it's like the whole team is like, well, do we just keep giving it to the guy that's standing by himself? Or do we just ignore him? Because now we're playing 4-on-5. Like you can't do it. The math just ends up screwing you at that point because you don't know if you should give it to him or not at that point. And while it seems like a better shot, I would rather have SGA taking a contested 2 99 times out of 100, probably 100 times out of 100, than Josh Giddey with a wide open 3. That's where we stand. So I don't know how you keep giving him minutes when he is a -5.5 per game in his plus minus. Do with that what you will. I know not everybody loves to prioritize that stat. The net rating is also around a -4. So it's the same concept if you look at efficiency wise. Plus Aaron Wiggins is so good that he's been the second best plus minus on the team this series behind Chet at plus 5.8 in way fewer minutes than Chet, like 15 fewer minutes per game. But still, those are a solid 22 minutes that he's giving you every game. I don't know why you wouldn't just rely on he and some Kayson Wallace. I feel more comfortable if I'm Dags than Aaron with Aaron Wiggins than I do with Kayson, who is a slightly less reliable shooter, is just a all NBA defensive player that upcoming in his career. But at the same time, like there's a lot of other dudes out there doing that right now that you don't necessarily need the hustle plays. You need an extra shooter. You need an extra threat on offense. And they're going to Isaiah Joe, who's great, but that's where your liability turns on defense. Whereas Aaron Wiggins doesn't create mismatches anywhere on the floor against you, is just a really helpful player. There is still a possibility that Aaron Wiggins starts this game, and at most you're going to see get 11 minutes, 12 minutes is where his ceiling has been. Like if he doesn't get 8 points in the first quarter when he actually takes a few shots, then you're safe at that point, right?
Yeah, I think my main concern is that Giddey actually does get benched out of the starting lineup and is a little bit more comfortable in a role off the bench where he might be able to thrive against the Mavs non-starters. I mean, something's got to give here. I feel like you could kind of zag on that and be like, look, Giddey, but right now his confidence seems like broken. Like if you're just going based on what you've seen, like he looks so tentative out there. He knows he's going to get hooked and he's like looking over his shoulder. And then as soon as he makes one mistake, he's getting hooked for the rest of the game. So, I mean, there's a little uncertainty for that. I think as of right now, I might actually bet the Aaron Wiggins 7 or 8 points for plus money, which he hit both times in the home games in this series. And he actually just kind of missed a couple bunnies in that last game, but could have easily had 8 points if he finished at the rim. The Mavs had 22 blocks last game, so kind of scaring them off. But like he's an athletic guy who can finish at the rim, so I think that's where I'm going to go with my bet here and just kind of like stay away from Giddey until we see where his head's at one more time.
That's what I did a couple games ago with Wiggs. He's gone 6 points straight in 2 straight now, both games. And my thing with Wiggins and like the Ben Shepherds of the world, even the Obi Toppins, is like if you don't hit one of your 3 threes that you take, you probably ain't getting over. That's why they set these lines right at, well, if he's taking 6 shots, 2 over 3 of them are threes. He's got to hit all his 2s. It's just like the math starts to turn into like, I need this guy to shoot 50 to 60%. So that's why I've been a little bit off of that type of play, unless I know that there's even more than 22 minutes coming for Wiggins. But it's just like with J-Dub as well. That's the final point. I think J-Dub is ripe for a good turnaround game. I still think the rebounds and assists, which I gave out last game and hit comfortably actually in the second quarter, we cashed that last game for J-Dub, who went ballistic there. It was over 9.5. Now it's over 10.5. He was 5 for 18 though from the field last game, and a part of the playoff strategy consistently is like, hey, what did he do last game? All right, the opposite this one. Like if it was an anomaly, then let me get back to that regression back to the positive here for J-Dub, and I think that might take a few points and shot attempts away, but we'll see. I think either play is fine. I prefer the under for Giddey in this one, so we'll see if Wiggins can take advantage of some minutes he might get. But that is all the time we got for you here in Play of Props. So continue to follow along. We also have best bets up in a separate episode as mentioned. So we will be coming back to you each and every day now throughout the rest of this postseason. Until we do see you next, happy betting.